Populations and human impact. In this unit, we will be talking about how populations affect other populations living in the same area, and also how humans impact the environment around us, both in good ways and in bad ways. The first thing we need to remember is that when we talk about a population, we are talking about a group of species living in a given area, one specific part of the environment. And these populations will either go up or go down as they interact with other populations and with their environment. So again, that is as they relate to the other biotic and the other abiotic factors that are living in the same area. There's three important things to remember when we talk about a population. First of all, the geographic distribution. This means what area is inhabited by that population. What area are we talking about where that population lives? The second is density, which is talking about how many individuals are part of that population that live in that area. And then the third is growth rate, if that population overall is going to increase or decrease with time. And a lot of that depends on things like birth rate, death rate, and the number of individuals that are coming into the population or leaving the population. Immigration is the term we use for when members come into that population. They add to the numbers, makes that population grow. And emigration with an E is the term we use when species exit or leave that population. There are other influences that affect population growth. Some of those we consider limiting factors, and that is a factor that causes a population growth to decrease, to go down. There are lots of different types of these. Some would be living factors in the environment, some would be non-living factors. Some examples would be the climate, or if there is a drought. If there's no water available, that will definitely limit how many species can survive. Competition between organisms, the idea that some organisms will compete for resources, those that are best able to survive will be the ones that will continue to populate. Predation, again, that was a type of community interaction where one organism feeds on another, so that will limit the population. For example, if there are a lot of predators, that eventually will decrease the population of their prey, and when the prey are gone, either that predator will have to find a different food source or its numbers will also decrease in population size. And then parasitism, disease would also be an example. Hunting is a way that humans would impact that. There are a couple different types of population growth. The first is considered exponential growth. And this type of population growth occurs when individuals are allowed to reproduce at a constant rate. So you can see in the graph below that there is a consistent increase in the population. And as you get more species, more are reproducing, so it ends up increasing at a much greater rate every generation. In order for exponential growth to occur, there has to be unlimited resources, which means there has to be enough food, enough water, enough shelter, etc., for all of those species to be able to survive in that population. If the resources become limited, then they will not be allowed to grow at that steady rate because not all of them will survive. If species come into contact with one of those limiting factors, so they are limited on how much food, how much water they have available, they will reach what we call logistic growth. And you can see in this example that this occurs when a population's growth slows or stops. And again, the reason it slows or stops is because they run out of resources and they don't have enough food or water for all of those organisms to be able to survive. The green line that you see in that chart is representing something we call the carrying capacity. That means that that green mark is the maximum amount of individuals that can survive in that environment. And that number is based on the amount of resources that are available, how much food is available, how much water is available. And most likely, as the population increases near that point, it will level off and stay consistent at that line of the carrying capacity. Specifically, the human population tends to increase with time, and a lot of that is because as humans, we have access to resources to be able to survive. Most of us have access to food, to water, medicine, technology. All of those things have allowed us to be able to survive longer over time, and thus it increases our overall population. Scientists study how the world population will grow or change over time, and in order to do that, they use something called an age structure diagram. What this allows scientists to do is see the population based on ages of people that are included in it. So you can see in our example down here, we are talking about, we have the separated by males and females. And then on the left side, we have it broken down into age groups. And so if we wanted to, we could look to see what percentage of the population or how much of that population is within a certain age range. And if you can see that the majority of this population is within the 40 to 60-year-old range. Knowing that information, it will allow people to make predictions as far as how that population will grow over time. Again, that is called an age structure diagram. So it's an illustration that shows the distribution of various age groups in a human population. And just to double check that we are understanding it, about how many males are in the population age 60 to 64. So we would look down to 60 to 64, see how far just that blue line goes out, follow it down, it would be about 800. Again, about how many females are in the population from ages 10 to 14. Now we're looking at the pink side, and we need to go to the 10 to 14 age range. Follow that across. That would tell us there's about 600.